we spent the past couple of years in a crazy hot market. Louisville home sales decline as demand outpaces supply. Effective communication is at the core of any situation. If you master these two ideas, you'll have a chance of being successful at residential real estate marketing. I think you need to be looking for investment opportunities that move the needle. The market will never crash if demand exceeds supply. This is what I've been telling you all along.
This is the Jay Pitts Show.
And we're back, folks. Welcome back to the Jay Pitts Show here on Talk Radio 1080. I am your host, Jay Pitts, here with Ryan Harris, back in the lab, as the kids would say.
Is that what we're going to call this place?
No, it's our office studio here at 10605 Shelbyville Road with the nice big video board. If you've driven down Shelbyville Road, you've probably seen my face. Ryan is Agent of the Week from time to time. You might see his mug on there as well. But yeah, Ryan, what are we doing today, bro?
Yeah, let's be honest. If you live in Louisville, you've probably seen Jay's face. Or if you shop at a Kroger, a specific Kroger, you've probably seen Jay's face.
That's Tyler Center and Middletown, which, you know, Middletown is all out of style now because of Publix, which, by the way, I went to Publix for the first time the other day.
Yeah, it's right by your house.
It's right by the house, but like I've avoided it like the plague because like I didn't see a point in waiting 2 hours to shop for groceries, which is like what it was on day one.
Yeah. Well, to shop and the Publix subs was probably a 10-hour wait.
Well, the subs, I will tell you this, to order online from inside the store, which they have signs everywhere to say to do that rather than stand in line. The line was probably 50 people. On Saturday night, number one.
That explains our where our world's at pretty well right now.
It was a 2-hour wait for a sub, ordering online, not standing in line, and there were 50 people in line. So that was crazy. Now here, let me say this.
You think those sub makers are getting carpal tunnel?
I don't know, bro, but it was something. And I'm going to tell you this. I witnessed probably no less than 3 or 4 couples that I firmly believe were on a date on Saturday night
probably
at Publix.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
like,
interesting.
I got no reaction out of Hannah on that one. There was a little bit of a smirk.
But
a date to Publix?
Yeah.
Like, hey, babe, what are we doing tonight? I don't know. You want to go to Publix?
Yeah, that's weird.
It's weird.
Here's a question for you. Do you think Publix could open a separate sub shop to compete with like Subway and Jimmy John's, but it's just called Pub Subs, and it's no grocery shop, and it's just subs?
I think probably.
I think it would crush.
I think probably.
I think they want people to come to their store, though.
You know, this is going to devolve into a serious business conversation if you let me go too far. But
let's do it.
Like, here's my point about you know, Subway is the McDonald's of sandwich shops. They're efficient.
It's a number. There's more Subways than any other fast food restaurant in the country.
Yeah. So you know, as opposed to like a Chipotle model, which is like a fast casual fast food kind of option that gives like the appearance of premium ingredients. Maybe they do have premium ingredients. I don't know. I know they had like an E. coli scare not that long ago. So premium.
Well, I remember there was like 4 or 5 years ago, sports teams kept getting sick after they were eating there. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
like
no, I heard about that. I heard about that. And every restaurant has that, and most of them bounce back if they've got a good following and a good brand. Chipotle is a whole nother, like the service is horrendous, and I you know, at least here in Louisville. But like anyway, my point is you compete on something. I don't pretend to understand the margins in like a sandwich shop business. Like I will say that having a Subway proves the fact that having the best sandwich is not what's required to be successful.
Yeah.
So, you know, I far and away appreciate Jimmy John's more, even though I still don't think it's the best sandwich.
Jersey Mike's
is fantastic. Yeah. You know, in terms of sub shops, but like, yeah, I don't know. They could definitely sell subs. It's popular and supposedly good. I've never had one, so I'm still going to make that happen here soon.
You need to have one. Maybe.
The grocery shopping was good. I enjoyed the store a lot. I was there with my kids on a Saturday night, and it was crowded. My wife and my kids and I, all 5 of us, which should have been like the 7th circle. Right, but it wasn't miserable.
Yeah,
it was good. The aisles were wide. They had lots of food. They had lots of stuff. It was well organized. It was easy to get through. Kroger, I feel like I get lost. Like I never know where anything is.
Yeah. So we live over in Crescent Hill, and there's the dirty Kroger over there.
Yeah.
Oh man,
is that the Lower Brownsboro?
It's just
Kroger?
Getting worse and worse. Yes,
yeah,
and worse. My wife went there, got catcalled like 4 times.
Wow.
Like just I don't know. It's
something.
It's very interesting. Like going there. So we don't go there anymore. We go to the one in St. Matthews. So,
There you go.
So how about E-Town getting a Publix?
Dude, I hear
It's pretty crazy.
I hear, and Louisville's getting a second one within like 2 miles of the first one.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy.
Have they announced a third one?
I
might have.
I believe so. I don't. It's in the south end somewhere.
Yeah.
Barstown Road, maybe. I don't know.
I remember what I was going to say earlier. So Subway, obviously, there's more in the country, like we said, than any other fast food restaurant. I can't tell you the last time I had a Subway sandwich.
There's one at the IGA out by my house, and we find ourselves close to it, and it's easy, and it's outside the Snyder. There's not much outside the Snyder. We're barely outside the Snyder. Traffic gets a lot worse. Lines get a lot longer when you're inside. We hit that sometimes because it's easy to jump on the Snyder and go wherever we're going. I mean, that's like a fairly like a on the way to a baseball tournament staple in my family.
Yeah. I think Subway definitely had the benefact of being first mover. Like when we were kids growing up,
Cold
I think it was
sandwiches,
probably the only
It really was.
sub place that existed fast food wise. And you go to all these travel ball tournaments, whether it's soccer, baseball, basketball.
Whole team's there.
You're getting a bunch of footlongs and you're all splitting them and
right.
eating Subway.
That's right.
So I think that's why they're as big as they are.
And they came at a time where the perception of health was becoming something more interested. You know, we've talked about this before. Like the definition of a good meal when I was a kid was like the meal itself was 2,000 calories, and like you had to eat every bite on your plate. Otherwise, like you didn't have a good meal. Like, so
Do you buy into the fact that breakfast was a marketing campaign
Somewhat.
that people put on? Like people didn't really used to eat breakfast, and then
I don't believe that breakfast makes, there's the big thing in school is they always reminded you to eat a good breakfast before your testing because they wanted you to do your best.
which actually you should not do.
It makes me lethargic.
Yes.
I work out fasted. I have very, very minimal, if any, calories before I work out every day. I usually don't eat until well after a normal lunchtime. And it really keeps me focused. I know you're big on the ketosis, like recently with are we going to talk about that? Did we talk about that last week?
I think we talked about it last week.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is that still going well?
Yeah, still going
How
well.
much time we got left? We
got 4 minutes.
Okay.
We're good.
So is that still going the way that it was for you last week? Nothing changed?
Yeah, I like it. Now I figured out if I take one before a hard run. So like today, took one this morning. I had a really hard workout run, and I still feel it throughout the day, but it wears off quicker.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because I'm sweating so much or just using so much effort over 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 miles.
Yeah.
That it kind of starts to wear off.
It's funny when I've run before, and I've never run like you, but I have trained and ran a marathon once and the mini a couple times. I always liked something light, like a couple of bananas, something like that before I ran. Like running fasted for me was a challenge. Lifting weights I very much prefer being fasted when I lift weights.
Yeah. So I usually don't eat before, depending. If it gets to 6 or 7 miles, I'll take liquid. It's called Tailwind.
Like
it's
a
basically
gel?
liquid carbs.
Yeah.
No, it's a powder you mix, and it's like 100 calories. There's carbs. It's basically the same thing as a gel. There's just a little more electrolytes in it.
Sure.
And you absorb it super quick. So I'll take like 1 or 2 scoops of that. And then once I get into these 15, like this weekend, I have a 15-mile run, and then soon enough I'm going to have a 22-mile run, and I'll basically practice my pre-race fueling for like those runs. I'll get up a couple hours before, have bagel, almond butter, honey on it, and I'll practice my whole routine and see how it feels in the gut. But
That's good.
yeah, man. I have a lot of pop culture. We can talk later. We just had a good little combo.
Yeah, sure.
Bring it back in. We're going to have to take this into the next segment here in a couple minutes. We still have a couple minutes, but we'll go ahead and get started. So this is the consumer real estate question, and somebody wants to know how you go into real estate deals thinking negotiation. Every deal is different, but do you have a certain negotiation style or tactic you like to employ through your deals?
Absolutely. So it depends on whether I'm a buy side or a sell side. There's a couple of like what I feel like are general, laws of negotiation or tenets, if you will. So like, for example, you're the buyer, you have to act first, right? When I strategize with a buyer, I need to understand whether it's a we can't miss or we would like if we can get this price.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important distinction, because if we can't miss, we put our best foot forward, and the market has required that in the last few years. We put our best foot forward first, and all of the other rules are kind of out the window. If it's I like this at this price kind of scenario, what I like to do is structure the first offer that is the lowest possible offer that I can make and still receive a counter without alienating the seller. Okay, so the rule itself, and this is an extrapolation of the rule itself, which is you learn the most about someone's position by their first counter, not their first offer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm trying not to signal, okay, where a buyer will be willing to land by their first offer. Most sellers will assume that they can split the difference between their asking price and your first offer, and that's where you're willing to land.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to be that train. I'm not trying to telegraph it that much. So, for example, if this asking price is $500,000, okay, I'm gonna probably, create a starting offer that will get a response that doesn't necessarily telegraph where I'm gonna land. So basically, $500,000 asking price. Let's say my client wants to land at $485,000, okay, which I think is fairly reasonable in this scenario. It's just a few percentage points off. I may construct an offer of, let's say, $470,000, which would kind of indicate, right, a $15,000 movement on our part, asking essentially the seller to make the same thing. More than that, I think, starts to get risky on whether the seller will respond to our offer or be put off. If I really have no other option and the buyer just really wants to get a deal, then we'll do it, and I'll try to back channel with the agent to soften the blow a little bit. But let's say they want to land at $490,000. I may still go in at $475,000, knowing that I have a little more room, just to basically see where the seller comes. If the seller comes to $495,000, okay, less than halfway to the middle, that may signal that they're stiffer on their price, or they don't have the ability to sell at the price we want, and we can tailor our future negotiations to that. I also try, as a buyer, to silo the negotiation on either price or terms. If I'm looking for a big movement on price, I don't want to ask for post-closing or pre-closing occupancy. I don't want to ask for, all these things that compromise, circumstance for the seller. I just want to focus on price. If I'm willing to give price, then I'm looking for concessions on terms.
Yep.
That's an option there. Okay, so now when it comes to the seller, okay, we're making our first counter first. That's the first movement we make, first action we take. So I'm cognizant of the message we're sending. Okay, if somebody makes a low offer,
so the same situation, you're the listing agent this time.
I'm the listing agent, and I get a $475,000 offer on a $500,000 price, and my seller is stiff at $500,000. They might do $495,000. Let's say that. I'm probably countering at full price there, because I want to signal that the $25,000 concession they've asked for is a non-starter, right? If I especially want to consider the other activity we have as a seller, if we have multiple showings. But I will say, in terms of theory, right, we've talked more about like what we would do rather than how we do it. I'm very collaborative in a negotiation. I'm going to get the other side talking. I'm going to disarm them. I'm going to, if I'm serving up a harsh offer or a harsh counter, I'm going to soften the blow. That kind of thing. And I'm going to try to disarm the other side and get them to give me information that I can use.
Yep.
Just to back channel.
Though, this is one of the best things I learned from you is if they're talking, don't say a word.
Just let them go.
Let them go as long as they
Let them
want
go
to
as long as they want to. They'll talk themselves out of it.
Some will go.
And they'll talk themselves down on price.
Yeah. So I got another question for you, but I just thought of something that is funny. So my dad has built a lot of homes. I've sold a lot of his homes, flips, etc., just different kind of real estate deals. So anytime we would get an offer that was super low that he would never consider, counter 5,000 higher than we're asking.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
And I would do it.
so there's something to be said for that, okay? Like, and I'll say this, and you know, we talked on the show a lot about how Ryan and I have a similar background and upbringing. You know, one thing I can appreciate about the way your dad does business is very similar to the way I learned, and it's coming at this from a position of strength, being somewhat uncompromising. Uncompromising people tend to achieve a lot. Now, you may upset some people in the process. You may get a reputation for being difficult, but you achieve.
Yeah.
Right? When you're uncompromising in action, you can upset people, but you accomplish a lot. Now, what I've learned is being diplomatic is more fruitful for me. Some people may not have that within them. You know, I've talked to your dad a lot, and he's like, "Man, I can't do what y'all do. I couldn't be on that microphone and not say the wrong thing."
Yeah.
Right? He is, I think, very impressed with what we do. He may be listening to this, you know, at some point. My dad could talk, but he had such a temper at the earlier stages of his career that he just, and a hair trigger, and he would just go off.
Yeah.
And so, and he achieved a lot that way, but you know, what I tended to do is learn that from him to be able to turn that on when it's necessary. But my Uncle Jim, who's another one of my mentors, Jim Bramlett, was the most diplomatic guy I'd ever met. And Jim would make you help him because you wanted to, because you liked him. And so I wanted to take both of those characteristics and meld them and get the best of both worlds, which is challenging to do, something I've tried very hard and I consistently work on, but I think it's made me a better negotiator.
Yeah.
You know, having both of those, have the carrot and the stick.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know, deals used to get done differently than they do today.
Yeah.
Talking about how your dad used to do business. My dad does business, and remember my dad met with him and Tim Allback the other day, and you know, Tim, good guy,
Big developer.
huge developer, and their first deal they ever did together was a handshake, and a multi-million-dollar handshake deal.
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly what it was. It was maybe Tim was developing some land, and he told Dad, "You build the homes and sell them, and
We'll do
pay
this
me back
deal."
that way."
Yeah.
And
Well,
all in a handshake.
Here's the fun thing about a handshake deal, okay? And this is the root of all negotiation, okay? And I think this is important. We can move on after this, but negotiation is always about leverage, okay? So in that situation, you have a big developer, you have a big builder, and a small community, both, okay? Neither of them want to alienate the other. So there's risk, serious risk in not following your word in that situation for both of them, frankly. And while some people would say, you never ever do business on a handshake, I'll never take that risk. Well, the greater risk was in disobeying the handshake.
Yeah.
And that's you just have to understand leverage when you have it and when you don't.
Yeah.
Right? When the other party has it.
I don't know about you. I feel like I can tell if I can trust somebody
Oh, of
on
course.
a handshake. And I think we talked about this early on in this show, something I need to be better at, that still working on. I make quick decisions about people fairly often, but I, over the coming months, if my idea on them changes, I'll change that. But I make quick decisions on people.
That I mean, you know, if you've got intuition, that's good. I think as long as you're open-minded enough to understand that, you know, you're not always right.
Yeah.
Right? Our assumptions and our assertions are not always right. If you're willing to change and adapt and grow, then that's not a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here's the other question I have for you. So we were talking about negotiation tactics that you use. Is there a deal that stands out in your mind over your real estate career where you're like, that was my best work? I got them right there.
You know, there have been a number. I would say early in my career, a good friend of mine, I sold him a house in Anchorage. I was able to negotiate the house needed a lot of work, and it looks like a phenomenal investment at this point. I mean, that was 2010, 4,000 square foot above grade, finished basement on an acre and a half in Anchorage, right by the school, 400 grand. That's probably $1.2 million now, right? Like crazy good deal 13 years later. They of course have invested a ton into it, but it needed a lot of work. And I was able to not only negotiate the price down from closer to 500 to more like 400, so it was a big swing. And And also, I got the seller after the inspection to replace the septic system, which was another 15 grand. Held the deal together despite the seller being in active Chapter 13 bankruptcy, so took some more negotiation there. That's probably one for a client.
This is pretty early in your career.
It was very early. I didn't start selling real estate full time until 2008, so I'm 2 years in business at this point. So that was a huge win. The other was probably most of them are for myself. That's the thing where I think you have the ability to be the best negotiator you can be, because you don't have to worry that you may not have the implicit trust of the party you represent. Now, I feel pretty confident in having the trust of my clients, and there are probably some other ones that I'm not thinking about that negotiation went very well, but both of the transactions where I bought primary residences since I've been actively in real estate were phenomenal negotiation outcomes. I mean, I got a, $429 for $350 for myself to purchase in 2009. I got a original list price of $825 for $650 for myself.
That's great.
You know what I mean? So it is, negotiating on flips and things like that. Those are always top of the list.
Yep. All right, Jay. Laying in bed last night, thought this would be, I don't know why this question popped in my head. I think I was scrolling Twitter or something, and certain things trigger certain questions in your mind. If you had to uplift your real estate team and move it anywhere in the country, where would it be? Can't be anywhere else in Kentucky or Indiana.
No Kentucky or Indiana.
Another state other than those two, and say the city too.
Oh, I think I know.
Okay.
I think I would go. I'd have to I'm not going to be able to say the exact place because I don't know what it would be, but the general area, and I'll give you two cities. It would be somewhere between Tampa and Orlando, Florida. Nice. Probably. I just think, what you got is you got inflow into it's not coastal necessarily. I mean, it's kind of coastal, but not really. Like I would go inland. I think those markets are much better. A lot of growth. The weather's great. It means I get to live there. A lot of good golf. It's become more of a priority lately. Good spot for the kids for sports and things like that. No state income tax.
Yeah.
Which cost of living is a lot higher otherwise, but it doesn't compare to like New England or California, anywhere like that. I mean, a crazy answer, which would not be the case, would be like Coronado Beach, California.
Yeah,
San Diego.
California would be in there.
I don't think so, but just because of the laws and the taxes and operating a business in California is kind of crazy. But like Coronado's awesome. Like it's San Diego. It's a beach community outside San Diego.
Maybe you could do Selling Sunset.
It's kind of its own island. It's not really. It's a military community.
Yeah.
It's the Navy base. That's where the SEALs train is. Coronado Beach. It's got this like really chill vibe. Like so, for example, like you've seen Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Okay. So the love interest, Jennifer Connelly is the actress. Like shows her house a couple times. That's on Coronado Beach. Like just like small houses, really close to the water. Unbelievable weather.
Yeah.
Like San Diego has the best weather in California, best weather in the country probably.
Yep.
So that would be a consideration, but I would still probably do Florida. And I think from a business perspective, I know a broker that is technically Tampa, but sells all the way to Orlando, and he has a couple of offices, and he covers probably like a couple hundred square miles of Florida. Operates a similar team to us. I think we could be really successful there.
Have you ever thought about starting a team in another state?
Not really. Honestly, it's funny. My dad used to tell me, and I do go back to his advice a lot. This was with respect to real estate investing. He says he likes to be able to go see his investments after dinner. And I just feel like spreading out for the sake of it. Like
you go see them in the winter if it's Florida.
It would be cool. But I don't know.
I guess so what? You'd have to take a whole other broker's exam, probably.
That's okay. That doesn't bother me. I've thought about getting my broker's license down there and just throwing a license with somebody.
Yeah.
If I had somebody I really trusted wanted to do that within our organization, maybe we would do something. I don't know. Florida would be where it is. Like I would license, if I got licensed in a third state, it would be Florida.
Yeah.
But, right now I just have a hard time with having young kids and being as involved in their stuff. Maybe that's a late 50s thing for me. A young, if I'm still fit, and which I plan to be, if I'm still fit and young in my 50s, in my probably mid to late 50s, and my kids are a little older, maybe that's a thing for them.
Yeah. We'll just see how much
I would do
property taxes and flood insurance.
I know.
There.
Homeowners insurance is a thing.
After my parents sold their house in Florida, they got a letter in the mail after they closed that they were going to have to buy wind insurance to keep all their other insurances, and it was going to be like $25,000 a year. So.
Yeah, crazy. Two plus thousand a month just for wind insurance.
Yeah, it's definitely the thing in real estate people aren't talking about enough right now, are rising property taxes and insurance issues. Yeah. Kentucky's not seeing the problem as much as other states, but
Florida has a state tax stamp thing that is substantially, substantial cost over and above state taxes, but they don't have income tax.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. Like if you're a resident of the state of Florida, it washes.
Yeah.
But
I think what a lot of people have talked about, it's a big retirement community, Florida.
Yeah.
And those people don't necessarily have income. And
well, it's smart from an economics perspective if you really get down to it, because it's a lot of consumption-based taxes. So their sales tax is higher, 9% sales tax, I believe, versus 6% in Kentucky. I don't complain about Kentucky. Kentucky has low taxes.
Yep.
Just because we're not like Tennessee and we don't have income tax, I think we get it back in other ways.
Even though everybody on Facebook will tell you otherwise.
That's silly.
Okay, I got one more question from you, and I've thought about this for myself. I think it'd be a fun video to make.
Mm-hmm.
So you go Flex MLS and you do a search, and there's the zip codes that pop up.
Yeah.
If I give you that map, you think you could write every zip code down for every little area in Louisville and Greater Louisville?
So I can name the zip codes. Absolutely. You're saying like if you gave me an area of town, what zip code is it in?
Yes. So you do that search, and there's that map that pops up, and it tells you the zip code.
The areas.
Yes. So let's say those areas are there with no numbers in them. Could you write all the numbers in?
No. Like what is area 2? You're asking me what is area 2? Like to tell you what.
Here, I'll pull it up.
Area 2 is blank. Jay, can you tell me? Like here, I've never been.
So like 40207, the little outline. Obviously, that's an easy one, but
well, here's the thing. I have a pretty intense knowledge of zip codes because of it's the way we evaluate leads for direct response lead sources.
Yep.
I've never been big on the areas for searching, and a lot of them are counterintuitive to me. What is Auburndale? We don't talk about Auburndale.
I don't use the areas either. I use the zip codes.
So I have a hard time with areas, but I can tell you this: I could quote you right now the zip codes in Louisville where we sell real estate. I could go from lowest number to highest number and not miss a single one. And I could tell you what areas of town they are, but I don't know that I could match them to the MLS areas, quote unquote.
I'll pull it up. That'd be a good video for you to do. That'd be
seriously, I could do it right now. I mean, it's 40202, 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08, 09 is a P.O. box. Okay, 402 10 11 12 13 14 15 16 17 18 19 20 no 21 22 23. Go ahead.
So this right here is what I'm talking about. If I handed that to you with no numbers, could you write the zip codes?
Oh, by the map.
Yeah, by the map. Take the numbers away and write.
I wouldn't be perfect.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be perfect.
But if you say the test in school with the blank map.
If you said, Jay, what zip code is Fern Creek? I could tell you 40291. What is J-Town? 40299. What is Hikes Point? 40220. Right? Like,
it's impressive.
What is Okolona? Right? 40219. Like, what is 40229? I could tell you it's just east of Okolona. There's not really an area. Maybe Highview, you would call it. 40218 is kind of Highview.
Yeah.
This is nerdy, but yeah, I have an intense knowledge of zip codes, but I don't know that I can fill in the map.
Yeah, for those listening, Jay has the most knowledge I've ever heard anybody have of anything real estate or construction wise, like the knowledge combined.
Some of it's surface level, but
There's a few agents here that I think would have answers to 95% of questions in any deal or construction situation.
yeah.
Jay's the only one, and he is the broker, and you would think all brokers should be able to answer 100%
They
of
don't.
questions. 99% of them can't. Jay's one of the 1% that can.
Well, I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
common. I think sometimes
It's true, though. I think you'd admit it.
Well, I've had to answer questions that I don't feel like I have an answer for, but I have to have an answer.
I think it's always fun in our Friday roundtables when you answer a question. That's correct, right, Lee?
Yeah.
And Lee Harris is like,
Usually, she's usually like,
Yeah.
she and I see
well,
eye to eye on
it's the
those
same.
things.
It depends.
It always depends.
Yeah.
It depends on what the situation is, whether I'm more willing to pass my opinion as a fact. But that's the truth. Any real estate dispute is more about opinions than it is about facts.
Yeah, absolutely. So Waste Management Open is this
Ooh.
weekend, or this week. I guess it starts today.
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl is this weekend on Sunday. Which one are you looking more forward to?
Well, the participants in the Super Bowl make it a little tough to be super excited. I'm not a fan of the Chiefs. I'm one of those that, anybody that is, perpetually, dominant or what have you, I'd like to see. I'm an underdog, person. But I don't feel like the 49ers are really a team that you can get behind. I really wanted to see Lamar in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. It is what it is. I'm not bothered by Taylor Swift at all.
Yeah.
I think if anything, Kelsey is in my opinion, the most impressive love interest she's ever had. He's a guy's guy. You know what I mean? Good for them. If they're happy and it's not a show, then great. But the Waste Management Open is really cool.
Yeah.
I was thinking as you said this, how cool it would be to make a road trip, a guy's trip of going to both
Oh,
in the same week.
I think I would die. Yeah, I don't have a problem with Taylor Swift at all. Zero. Have zero problem with Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes.
No.
My biggest
He
problem
does sound like Kermit the
is
Frog,
Patrick Mahomes' brother. Cannot stand him.
His wife irks me a little bit.
Yeah, even her, whatever.
Her talking
she is
trash
kind of
about
annoying,
Lamar.
but she is supporting her husband. There's things she's done that's annoying, but
She should support him, but talking trash about Lamar like she did was kind of frustrating to me.
always go
Whatever.
back to your whole life's in the public though, so
Your
you're probably
worst
gonna miss,
moments, people
probably
are
gonna
gonna-
mess up.
Yeah, that's
Jackson
fine.
Mahomes has never done anything good with his
I've never really followed him much to know what he does. I know he said some annoying things. Pat is a great quarterback. I hate the comparison to Tom Brady already.
Have you seen the house he built?
Brady or
Patrick Mahomes.
No.
Dude, so you need to go watch PGA memes on YouTube.
Okay.
So this guy, he's been doing house tours of PGA Tour golfers, but also just professional athletes with cool setups.
Yeah.
It's one of the best channels. It just goes to the best golf. They have the sickest golf setups in their house. And Patrick Mahomes just built a house with, from his kitchen and living room view, a big window that looks into a full court basketball inside. And he has a par 3 in his backyard that's 160 yards. That's real grass, a huge pond pool. It's he's a guy's guy too, Patrick Mahomes. I don't know if you know this, but he slugs some beers.
Does he?
There was who was it talking about? Some comedian was talking about.
Well, Kelsey parties like crazy.
Yeah, well, some comedian was talking about Patrick Mahomes came to a show and drank 15 Coors Lights, 16 ounces. And it was come out to the club with us after. And he went out to the club with them, and the bouncers weren't letting him in. He was like, no, I am with those big, tall football players.
That's funny.
But,
Well, no, I don't have any issue with Pat. I don't like the comparison. He's not done enough yet to be in the GOAT conversation.
Not yet.
But he's good if he continues.
Yeah, what was cool about Brady was there was that gap of winning a bunch.
And
gap. And then
it was
kind of made you root for him towards
It was,
the end. At least
which I
it
didn't
was.
like him in the beginning, but I did root for him at the end, especially his year doing it without the Patriots. Like that was like something that was, even though he brought Gronk with him, but still, like
Gronk's the most likable guy in the world.
he is very cool. It's hard to like Belichick, so like Brady became more likable when he got away, and the fact that he did it late in his career. It's kind of like that Jordan effect where Jordan had the retirement and then came back and three-peated again.
Yeah.
Like I think the way the story gets told is really pretty impressive for Brady. So I don't think, I don't think Mahomes deserves that yet, but he's on his way for sure. I don't know. I think if you gave me a chance to pick one to go to, I would absolutely choose the Waste Management Open.
Yeah.
This year. But if Lamar was in the Super Bowl, it would be the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see. So I think they said last year at the Waste Management Open there was like 1.2 or 3 million beers drank.
Wow.
And they're wondering if
was
this year.
it last year that the other Koepka had the hole in one on?
No, that was Live.
Was that a live event at the same?
It was
that
Chase Koepka. It was
Chase Koepka, but it's not the same course.
No.
Okay, it just looks like it.
They just tried to recreate
it. Okay.
So Liv has an event in Vegas this week.
Liv has an event in Vegas this week. That's a killer idea. He's listening to Kodak Black. They're blasting Kodak Black, and the dude holes out on a par 3, and people just go nuts. I've seen that video 100 times.
Liv. Everybody's saying it's fine, like to watch. The most annoying thing about watching Liv, and there's a lot of things I don't like about it, but it's the music in the background when you're watching on TV, like techno music. I'm laying on my couch on a Sunday. I don't want to hear techno music.
No, I agree.
But it is what it is.
I feel like they figure out a way to take that out of the telecast.
Have some more kind of just pop culture stuff. Shane Gillis, have you seen?
I've seen a lot of his stuff.
So,
I've never seen him in person. I kind of want to.
I saw him this year. Very, very good. He got kicked off Saturday Night Live like 4 or 5 years ago, and now he's hosting this Saturday.
That I did not know. That's interesting. He was canceled, and then he does this whole bit about getting uncanceled now, which is kind of funny. He's just a guy. He's an ordinary guy, and he's very self-deprecating. Yeah. And it just works. Some people it wouldn't work, but it's something about they say fat guys are always funny, and I think if you watch Joe Rogan, he's trying to get in shape. He lives in Austin now.
And Shane's not fat.
He's not. He's a former athlete. Yeah. He was a college football player, I think.
Stavros.
Yeah,
that guy's fat.
Yeah, that's true. But anyway, so yeah, that's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'm hoping to get to see him at some point.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch this. It's gonna be.
I got to see Matt Rife
Saturday Night Live in a while. How was Matt Rife?
Matt Rife was good. He didn't do anything from his special.
Did he do any crowd work at all?
He did some crowd work, but it was impromptu. He didn't really. It was a big theater, so it was kind of hard. This girl went nuts from the upper deck and said some funny stuff, and he just went back to it like 5 or 6 times throughout the show. It was always perfectly timed.
Did he kick her out?
No, he didn't kick her out, but I mean, he had some really, because he'd been in Louisville. It was New Year's Eve, so he'd been in Louisville working a club for he made a killer reference to how dirty the Ohio River is, which is he's immersed himself trying to make a relevant joke to our city. So it was pretty good.
Yeah. Okay. Have any of your kids asked for the Apple Vision Pro yet?
No. My 11-year-old just noticed that it was a thing. And I told him how much it cost, and he was like, "What?" Because he has the Facebook headset, the Meta Quest.
I have one too.
Yeah, I've seen yours. We got him the VR batting practice app. My mom got that for him for Christmas. It's like $20 a month, so she bought it for a year for him. It's cool. It works. I do it. Yeah. It throws me back.
I've done the golf one. The only thing is you have to have enough room. You have to
have a
room
tough.
In your house with no furniture.
We can do it in his bedroom. You kind of stand up next to his beds because you're swinging a bat and it's higher than the bed, so you have enough room for a batter's box on the floor, and then it's clear about waist high. So
that's the tough part with them.
It is a little tough.
So it's cool. I saw somebody say, you're shocked at the price now, $3,000, but Apple prices things for the future. And also, he was like, it's funny that you all think you're FOMO. You can fight your FOMO enough to not eventually buy one of these once everybody has them.
I mean, it looks super nerdy. The guys that are getting pulled over, driving down the road wearing them and stuff like that.
Do you think Apple paid all these people?
I don't
to
think
market
so.
them and walk around.
I don't think so. I think people are nerdy enough to do it themselves.
Really?
Like the Cybertruck driver that got pulled over and went viral. His video, like the I don't know if you saw. There's like a.
What about the ones
police?
that just people with them on sitting in the subway? You think
That's wild to me. I don't know. I've seen a couple of videos on TikTok where a guy has screens pinned all over his house.
Yeah, see that.
And that's kind of cool. Like, but I really don't think the average person, the late adopter, is just going to walk around with these big goggles on their face all the time.
No, not yet.
Like, they need to make them more wearable. It needs to be more like Google Glass. Even that looked really nerdy, but it was just less intrusive. It needs to be more like that, but it needs to have that functionality before it becomes a real thing.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a contact at some point.
God.
Probably years down.
Well,
the
I
road,
mean, they just beta tested. Did we talk about this last week? They
No.
beta tested Neuralink.
we did.
They got a human
I saw
beta
that.
test going on Neuralink.
It's
right
crazy.
now. It's crazy. I mean, like, there's all sorts of these answers. Like, wearables become implants.
Let's say, do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing for the world if everybody can get one and become equally smart?
That's a really hard question to answer, man. I don't know that I can answer that. To be quite honest, I think a lot of it is going to be like ChatGPT. It's going to become the person that understands best how to interface, and there's going to be talent that is expressed through that.
Yeah.
Like that kid who figured out that I'm gonna make like these spatial anchors for these different things with my Vision Pro. Like that's a really relevant and seemingly like human thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna have my work above my desk. I'm gonna have my work desktop, and I'm gonna boop, 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 and my Netflix is gonna be in here, and my grocery list is gonna be literally on the refrigerator.
Yeah.
So I'm looking in the refrigerator and I go, oh, I need milk. Like that stuff, it takes some, and that's not really novel, but
Yep.
people
All
are
right.
going to figure out things like that.
We got about a minute left. We're getting the show with this. So
Okay.
you're talking. Jay was playing golf a few days ago, and he said he got the S word.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it one time. I don't say it. He got the shanks. So
Yeah.
it's one thing you'll learn, at least my golf buddies that I know, and all of us. We don't ever say the word. It's
Okay.
the S word. Even if you hit one on the course,
Nobody says
you
it.
say S word. You don't say the word.
You don't say the S word that you want to say because you're frustrated that we can't say on the radio.
No.
Not this
You
S.
can't
This
say
is a different.
You can't say shank.
Okay,
You
got it.
just call it the S word.
Okay, got it. So it's two S words.
It's
now.
a bad omen if you start to say.
Well, I tend to be the kind of guy that likes to normalize and like get comfortable with bad things,
Yeah.
so that they don't have as much impact on me. But I feel you because it's so confusing.
Baseball has some very weird things. Like
I couldn't throw the ball back to the pitcher for a while.
Yeah.
Like Chuck Knobloch was a Hall of Famer until he couldn't throw the ball to first from second base. Like, so I get it. I don't really know what to do about it. You know, I spent some time at the range this week trying to come up with ways to make bad swings that don't have that result.
Yeah.
Like reliably.
That's funny.
So anyway, all right, folks, that's all the time we got for you this week. We appreciate you tuning in as always. Check us out on the socials at ryanharris.re or at jpittsrealtor, pretty much everywhere. Instagram and TikTok follows are always appreciated. But yeah, we'll be be back next week with another episode of the Jay Pitt Show. We're right here on Talk Radio 1080. For Jay Pitts, or for Ryan Harris, I'm butchering this. For Ryan Harris, I'm Jay Pitts. We're getting out of here.
See you in a couple.